Welcome to a comprehensive guide on JavaScript ES6 features. In this video, we will explore the powerful features and enhancements introduced in ECMAScript 2015. This version of JavaScript brought significant changes that modernized the language and made it more efficient. We'll be covering a range of topics from new syntax and variable declarations to more advanced concepts like promises and async operations. We will be also looking at new data structures and type. ES6 introduced new ways to declare variables using the keywords let and const. These new declarations provide true block scoping, unlike the traditional var keyword. Block scoping means that a variable declared inside a block, which is denoted by curly braces, is only accessible within that block. The let keyword is used to declare variables that can be reassigned a new value. On the other hand, const is used to declare constants, which are variables whose values cannot be changed after they've been assigned. Both let and const prevent variable hoisting, which is a concept where variables declared with var can be used before they are actually declared in the code, which can lead to bugs, and they also help in avoiding temporal dead zone issues, which is an error that occurs when you try to use let or const before they are declared. ES6 introduced arrow functions, which provide a more concise syntax for writing functions. Traditional functions use the keyword function, but arrow functions use a shorter syntax, which often makes code cleaner. In many cases, arrow functions can be written in a single line, especially for simple operations. Template literals are another significant addition in ES6. They allow for easier string interpolation, which is embedding variables directly inside of strings, and you can also create multi-line strings without any special characters. Template literals use backticks instead of single or double quotes, and variables are embedded using the $ followed by curly braces. Destructuring is a very useful feature in ES6 that makes it easier to extract values from arrays and objects. It allows you to unpack values into distinct variables. Object destructuring uses curly braces and array destructuring uses square brackets. You can also use destructuring for nested objects. The spread and rest operators, which is denoted by 3 dots, are another very useful feature. Spread operator is used to expand elements of an array or an object into another array or an object, and it can be used to create shallow copies of arrays and objects. Rest parameters, on the other hand, allow a function to accept an indefinite number of arguments as an array. It is used when defining a function to collect any number of arguments. ES6 introduced several improvements to how we define objects. These improvements are referred to as enhanced object literals. One such feature is property shorthand, which allows you to use a shorter syntax when the property name and the variable holding the value are the same. Method shorthand simplifies the syntax for defining methods inside of objects, and you don't need to use the function keyword anymore. Computed property names allow you to use dynamic expressions within square brackets to define property names, which makes objects more flexible. ES6 introduced class syntax to JavaScript, making object-oriented programming easier for those who are familiar with class-based languages. The class keyword is used to create a class, and inside the class you have the constructor method, which is used to initialize the object, and other methods that define its behavior. Inheritance is the ability of one class to inherit the properties and methods of another class. This is achieved using the extends keyword, and the child class can override and extend the functionality of the parent class. You can also access the parent constructor or methods using the super keyword. These features make managing inheritance hierarchies more straightforward. ES6 introduces a way to organize JavaScript code into modules. Modules allow you to split the code into separate files, which can then be imported and used in another file. This helps with better organization and reuse of code. Named exports allow you to export multiple functions, variables, or classes from a single file using the export keyword. You can import these named exports in another file using the import keyword. Default exports allow you to export a single value or a function by using the export default keyword, and when importing the default export, You can choose any name for it. Promises are a very important feature in ES6 that make handling asynchronous operations much easier. Asynchronous operations like fetching data from an API or performing any kind of task that takes time do not execute immediately. Promises represent the eventual result of such operations, which could either be a success or a failure. A new promise is created using the new promise constructor, and a promise has a then method for handling a successful operation, a catch method for handling any errors, and a finally method to perform any cleanup operations regardless of whether the promise was successful or failed. Async and await keywords are built on top of promises. Async functions allow you to write asynchronous code that looks like synchronous code, which often makes it simpler to write and understand. The await keyword is used to pause the execution of an async function until a promise is resolved. Generator functions are a new kind of function that are denoted by an asterisk after the function keyword, and they can pause their execution using the yield keyword and resume it later, which makes them useful for creating iterators. When a generator function is called, it returns a generator object, and calling the next method on this object resumes the generator until the next yield keyword is encountered. You can also create custom iterables by defining an iterator method on an object. This method is denoted by the symbol .iterator. An object is considered iterable if it defines this method. Iterables can be used in for of loops, which make them very useful for handling sequences of values. ES6 introduced new data structures called maps and sets. A map is like an object, but it allows keys of any data type. Maps also retain the order in which elements were inserted. Maps provide methods like set, get, has, delete, and size. You can iterate over maps with the for of loop. A set is a collection of unique values, and it ensures that each value appears only once. Set provides methods like add, has, delete, and size. Similar to maps, they also preserve insertion order. Sets are useful for removing duplicate items from arrays and performing other operations that involve unique collections. Proxies are a powerful feature that allows you to intercept operations on objects. A proxy is created using the new proxy constructor and a handler object, which specifies the operations that the proxy needs to intercept, like getting or setting values of properties. Reflection API provides methods that are useful for performing actions on objects, like getting a property value or setting a property value, setting the descriptor of a property, and also calling constructors. Here's a summary of best practices when using ES6 features. Always prefer using const for variables, and use let only when you know the variable will need to be reassigned. Arrow functions can be used in callbacks for cleaner code. Use template literals for better string interpolation, and async await makes promise-based code easier to manage. While these are some good practices to follow, there are also some common pitfalls to avoid. One should avoid mixing var with let or const, as this can cause confusion and lead to errors. Overusing promises when async and await can simplify your code should be avoided. Always ensure that there is proper error handling in async code, and complex inheritance hierarchies should be avoided, as they often make your code hard to maintain. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.